Hello, Michael Yon here, live from Chiang Mai, Thailand. It is the 15th of March, 2020, and as you can see, a lot of things are changing here. It's 10:41 in the morning here, so that must make it 11:41 p.m. In 23:41 hours in Washington D.C. So here we are in Chiang Mai, Thailand. Lots of stuff to talk about, and I will take questions and we'll answer. I'll stay on, I won't stay on all day, but I'll certainly answer a lot of questions today. But let's go over a few things first. First, let me see. I'm looking at notifications here. It looks like it's feeding out. I wanted to see first if you're actually getting this. If you are, please leave a comment and tell me if you're actually hearing it. And if you are, okay, there's Tony. Okay, and okay, there's Tony. And hello, Phil. Hello in Kansas City. Sounds good. Michael from Utah. Hey, Grant. And hello in Texas, Deborah. And Sang Pak. Hello in Los Angeles. Okay. And yep, hi on Facebook, Corel. Mark Doyle, yes. Okay, everybody's got Indiana. A lot of people coming in. All right, so we can get started. Hey, Jenna. I guess you're down in Australia. Let's see. Okay, great. A lot of people seem to be getting it. All right, let's go then, and I'll start taking questions later. Hello in Tennessee, man. I hope everybody's doing well in Tennessee. I know those tornadoes were quite serious. I called some family and friends that live there, and wow, it's how serious it is. And all right, let's get started. Do you ever? I did a long interview last night on with Random Yoko, by the way, on her page. So a few people saw it, maybe 1,000, not a lot, but she's a Japanese friend, and she's been. We first met in Tokyo in 2014. She's very involved in these China issues and whatnot. Very interesting interview. It went for a long time. Went for like 2 hours and 20 minutes or something like that. But we covered a lot of ground. Just so that you know, Random Yoko. She sometimes comes on my page. But do you ever, speaking of random, up in Japan, did you ever remember the tsunami in 2004? The tsunami that let me turn off the air conditioning in case it's loud for you. Um, and hello in British Columbia. We'll talk about Canada soon, by the way. Do you remember some of those videos from the tsunami in 2000 and in four that hit Indonesia? It hit India. It hit many of the islands out in the Andaman Sea, and it hit Thailand very hard, and Malaysia hit Myanmar, I believe, as well. It hit quite 230,000 people killed, right? But you can see that was, many people had their phone cameras and whatnot out, and they were making videos. And you can see the sea receding, like the ocean, the water is receding. And I don't know how. I've known it since I was a child that if the water suddenly goes out, that's a very clear sign you need to get away from the beach because that's a potential tsunami, right? And so, but you can see these videos where like Japanese are out there, the sea goes out, right? The sea's clearly going out. And all these people are just watching it. And Japanese are like, get away, get away. The Japanese are all warning. They're like, come, come, come. Japanese are warning because Japanese know what it means when the water goes out. It means tsunami, right? But everybody's just like, don't worry, be happy. And they're like, wow, why is the sea going out? It's tragic. And you can see it on a lot of the videos. So they're just walking out, like watching, fish flop around or whatever. And, and then, and the Japanese are like, go, 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 run away. And some people took the hint, like the old people warned us, you know what I mean? The old people told us what this means. And, but then others, you see it, and then the sea starts to come, and many are no longer with us. 230,000. There's very serious parallels with what's going on today. For instance, surveillance. Back then, we knew that the earthquake happened, and there should have been plenty of warning. The death toll should have been minuscule. There should have been plenty of warning for most people, but there wasn't. And some of these tsunamis take literally hours to get there. For instance, one that happened, when did that happen? Back in the 40s or 50s? There was one that happened so far away down near South America, I think, and it took like something crazy, like 12 hours to get to Japan, and still killed a lot of people in Japan. So I mean, if it hits you at night or whatever, you might not see the sea go out. But anyway, it has very similar parallels with this. Like some of us saw it early, and we're warning, like, watch out, the sea's going out, prepare. And the old people told us, ever since I was a kid, people have warned about the big pandemic. Sooner or later, they always sound crazy. Well, here it is. And so that's why I was prepared anyway. I already had masks. I've had them like forever. And so interesting. So now one of my relatives, she's going to go to medical school in Canada. She's a Thai relative. And she went to get food yesterday, and everything sold out. Like, she couldn't get anything except some noodles, right? And so she's going to be hungry. And despite that, I've been warning everybody. You know what I mean? I've been warning everybody that I know, as you know. But and I'm like, well, here's your lesson. You're going to learn through hunger. Now, I want to say something very clearly about this. Now is not the time to fight over that last can of tuna, because it's clear that, for instance, in Canada and in most of Europe still, maybe not going as well in Italy and Spain, is about to get hit, and some others. But this first wave of clearing the shelves is actually not the first. There's been numerous waves where people just went for something like toilet paper. And now I'm getting messages from across the United States and in Europe and in Australia, people just clearing out the shelves. And in some places in Thailand, but not here in Chiang Mai that I've seen. But some messages I'm getting, for instance, from Bangkok, where people are like, wow, they're buying stuff out in some places. But remember, supply lines are still open. Like, for instance, here in Thailand, supply lines are still open in the United States and Canada and most of Europe still. So this first wave has just cleaned out the shelves, right? But this is not the time to fight over that last can of tuna, because they're still going to be able to restock. But don't waste time. You need to stock up now. And people have asked me, what other alternatives are there? And somebody pointed out yesterday, Amish. But of course, Amish aren't all over the place. I used to live in Ohio, and I would buy stuff from Amish all the time. So, the Amish, the farmers, buy direct from farmers, obviously, but that's not available to everybody. But like here in Thailand, you can go buy straight from rice farmers. A lot of people actually do that. And another thing, like I was just looking online, and I went to a pharmacy last night to walk all the aisles. Did I forget anything? Did I forget anything at all? And actually, I got one more thermometer. I actually got a couple thermometers, but I got one more so that I know somebody else that might need it. But make sure everybody's got thermometers. It may seem simple. These are just a few bucks. I like the mercury ones, but I got the electronic as well. But these are very simple, right? Very simple things you can get. Thermometers. That one's electronic. And here's a mercury thermometer. But thermometer can be very important for obvious reasons. Like, do you really have a fever, or and then if you check your temperature, and if you think you're getting sick, start writing down your temperature. Okay, because fever and dry cough are very serious symptoms of this. So if you get a dry cough, write down your temperature. Even if you don't have even if you don't have a fever, write down your temperature, that it's normal, because that's an important data point. I tell that to these correspondents that are new to conflict out in Hong Kong. Often they only pull their cameras out when something bad's going on. I'm like, hold on, make sure to photograph like all the time. When nothing's going on, that's also really important information. You know what I mean? So for your archives, and a lot of times you're only piecing stuff together much later. But anyway, when it comes to this, write down your as soon as you get the dry cough, start taking your temperature, or if you get the fever, and then start writing it down, say hourly, right? And then if you deem, using your own judgment, to call a doctor, call before going. And then you can say, oh, here's my temperature of these hours. And then the doctor might say, oh, it sounds like nothing, or get in here, you know what I mean? Or whatever. So make sure you got little simple things like this. Can be a big deal. This can be the difference between you have to get on the subway and go to the hospital and not. That little thing, what is it, $5? I don't know. I mean, it's cheap. And so make sure everybody's got little items like this that can be very important later on. And so, all right. Yeah, and what Cecilia is saying here, this is important. I love some of the comments on here. See, she's pointing out something important. And take temp when you are feeling well, so you have a base. Me, I run around, this is what Cecilia's saying. I run around 97 normally, so 100 is high. So, because we all have, all of our temperatures aren't exactly the same, right? Yeah, I mean, that's a very important point. Hey, Karen in Florida, make sure you stock up. Go hit your Publix or Sam's or whatever. Okay, Don is saying Costco in Honolulu has checkout line just for toilet paper. Oh, man. Another thing to map out, if you're in Hawaii, I've been to Hawaii quite a lot. Man, I love Hawaii. So if you were to have a water shortage from, it is possible that there'll be infrastructure failures. Make sure you know where there's fresh water sources out in the mountains, and you've got your water filter that I keep talking about all the time. And people are right. I should put up an Amazon affiliate program so I get. The only thing I don't like about that is when I don't want you to ever think that I'm saying get this one because I'm making money off of it. You know what I mean? I don't want you to ever think that, because I want you to have confidence and faith that when I'm saying this is what I use, I mean, I really use it. You know what I mean? Like I really use the Sterapin. I really use my wherever it is, my Catadine water filter that walks away all the time. And anyway, so but that's why I didn't tell you what brand of this thermometer is. I'm not making any money on these. So, but you need to get it. And let's see. Okay, Alan Schmidt is saying panic buying here in Philippines for alcohol and hoarding. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. I want to finish that thought that Peter Unn is now saying. Peter Unn is on one of my YouTube pages. Google Maps, water reservoir, lakes, creeks around your area. Exactly. Thank you for finishing my thought, Peter. You've got my back here. You're covering my back. Make sure you know where fresh water is out there so you can go get it, right? And then, unless you got glacial melt off and you're up somewhere, make sure you go ahead and filter it. Although I have to say, many times I actually have drank completely unfiltered, untreated water. But generally, it's obviously much better to filter it. Like in Florida, especially in North Florida, there are springs all over the place. So like in the north part of Florida, if you know where those springs are, like Ishinakatucky River, which I've gone down so many times, crystal clear water. It comes right out of the ground. Florida's got those great aquifers, Blue Springs, crystals. There's so many. We got so many springs I don't even know, and some of them are quite tiny. Peacock Springs. There's so many springs out there in Florida. It's got to be, I don't know, 1,000. I'm not sure. Look it up. But anyway, you can see it online. Some are on private property. If you had a real serious water problem, you might just say, hey, can I come get some water? But there's also, many places that'll be nearby. Even, the Swanee River is not exactly the cleanest in the world, but it's not that dirty either. And you could certainly fill it out. Like if you look at the Swanee, actually a lot of the water in Florida will look dirty because it's brown, but it's actually can be quite clean. It's brown often from tannic acid from like the cypress trees, but it's actually quite clean. You just filter it out, and but it looks brown, but it's okay. Just filter it. And also, if there's been any flood or anything like that, hit it with your UV. And also, you can clean water by putting it in plastic bottles and setting it out in the sun, and just set it out all day on a cloudless day. That the UV light from Mother Earth, the sun hitting will deactivate the viruses and kill the bacteria. So, right now, caution on maps. Hold on, we'll talk about that in a minute. World and Dunlap is saying, I seen gangs of hoarders, people traveling to all stores, buying all paper, soap, etc. I took some pics of empty shelves. That is history. Yeah. And remember, I've been saying this since January. Well, actually, I've been saying it for years. But and also when it comes to these new experts on this pandemic, if they didn't notice this back in January, I would question their expertise, because I'm not an infectious disease expert, and I was clearly warning about it in January. Like as loud as I'm warning right now, I was doing that I've been doing this since January. And so is Steve Bannon. and so is Chris Martinson on Peak Prosperity. And I noticed Chris Martinson. I like his show. It's really good. I noticed Chris Martinson has lost some of his politeness. He's talking more like I talk now. Chris Martinson, like, those guys should be fired. Normally he's like a real polite, man. Now he's getting more impolite because he's getting emphatic about it. And he lives up there in Massachusetts, in Western Massachusetts, he said. So it'll be interesting to hear what he has to say. He said on one of his recent shows that he and his wife, or his, not his wife, but his fiance, were wearing a mask recently, maybe a month ago, back early on. And people were looking at him like they were strange. He didn't know what they were thinking. Maybe they thought, he didn't know what, but they were looking at him very strangely. Hello in New York City. Can you still get Ventolin inhalers over the counter? Matthew Dill, I do not know. Let me actually keep going down my list, and then we're going to go through a lot of questions, and then also answering each other's questions is quite helpful. Or throwing in your own information. For instance, write down your baseline temperature, even when it's not, even when you don't have a fever. Just go ahead, especially like for your kids, write it down, or elderly people. Stay away from your elderly people that you love. This is the time to, but don't let them get lonely either, because elderly people get lonely just like kids do. And there is almost no worse feeling in the world than loneliness. Loneliness, simply put, sucks. And now everybody's going to go into quarantine. I'm fine with it, man. I just read books and stuff. And so, but a lot of people, but everybody has felt lonely at one time in your life. And, it really sucks, right? So it's like one of the worst feelings ever. You know what I mean? It's like I'd rather be getting bitten by a swarm of ants or something. So, because at least you can wipe the ants off, right? So if there's people, millions of people are going to be going into various forms of quarantine. So reach out to them. Hey, call them up. Hey, man, what's going on? And, and especially older people that are alone. Hey, man, everybody's forgotten about me. You know what I mean? Like, again, I went and visited a couple older people last night and dropped off something to them. They didn't even need it. But it was more like, hey, how you doing? Here's some stuff, gave them some vitamin D. But it was more just to show my face that, hey, everything's cool. Everybody, people are thinking about you. And here's some vitamin D. Oh, have a good night. Sweaty cup. And so just do that. You don't even, because I'm not going to get close to them because because I've been to stores and stuff. I could be infected now. So make sure that highly encourage older people to stay indoors and call them up all the time, bug them. Here he goes, calling up again. I mean, so like call up your grandmother, call up your grandfather, call everybody up. And if everybody helps one person only, you don't have to help the world. You don't have to help 10 people. If all of us just help one person, everything's going to be good. Everything's going to be fine. Because that's like more help than is possibly needed. If everybody, first we square ourselves away. Rule number 1, oxygen mask fall down, put your mask on, touch my face, then put your child's mask on. Always help yourself first. I know that goes against the way we're raised, but that's common sense in a survival situation. If we're not helped, then we can't help anybody, right? This famous lawyer said that one time. He used to do a lot of pro bono cases. And because after he made a lot of money, he was like, well, now I'm going to go out and help people, which is kind of the way I am, but I don't have all the money he has. But he would win all these huge cases. And then finally just started doing pro bono cases all his life. But he was like, but in the beginning, I just had to make money because I have to take care of my own family first. And then I got my discretionary time because I got my nest egg built up. Then I can go out and just, do things that I like to do, which is help people and on very important things. All right, let's keep talking. United Kingdom, herd immunity. When I first heard this, actually, you know what herd immunity is? I think most people on my pages know, but just in case there's some younger people here, herd immunity is when enough of it, that's why we get vaccines. Of course, it helps us it doesn't help just one person, but if enough of us get it, if enough of us have immunity to a certain disease, it won't go like wildfire through our population, right? And that's why this novel virus, as you keep hearing it called, is called novel, because we don't have immunity for it. So it's running through our herd and it's running through at a very rapid rate, like doubling every 4 to 5 days, which is pretty phenomenal. And so, we don't have that herd immunity. And so United Kingdom has come up with a plan. And at first I thought I misunderstood them. So you might recall in my last live feed, I was like, oh, they've decided to let the kids go to school and that's their choice. But it didn't dawn on me yet because I didn't realize exactly what they were talking about. They're talking about letting it run its course in the United Kingdom. In other words, they're just going to let it go. You know what I mean? Mostly let it go, which is like firefighting by saying, okay, we're going to let it go ahead and burn through all the cities and stuff. And then we'll be inoculated because all the things that are going to burn will be burned. And I'm like, you know what? I would sit back and go, well, you know, they got great experts, you know, that appeal to authority type thing, which can be a logical fallacy. I mean, we always have this judgment call in our life. Should I listen to that expert or is this expert full of it? You know, because I have seen experts full of it so many times. We all have. The Iraq and Afghan wars, it was like one thing after another, man. It was just like it goes on and on and on. Or the way that the Hong Kong government handled what have become now insurgents, my friends, the insurgents, and they should be all friends of Americans too. I love Hong Kongers, but the only reason they're insurgents is because this brilliant Hong Kong government and the Chinese Communist Party, in all their brilliance, have done things to create insurgency. So sometimes, obviously, it's a logical fallacy to assume that these experts are really, first of all, acting in our best interest instead of some other best interest, or that they even actually know what they're talking about. Because remember, we're in a little bit of witchcraft voodoo moment here. There's not enough information about this virus it's just not there. This thing just came out of the box, like Jack in the Box in about December, right? Maybe November or whatever. But we didn't really know about it until December. And in December is when I was like, what's going on over there? But I wasn't sounding any alarm. I don't know if I said anything public in December or not. But I do remember I was alerted to it. I was like starting to pay attention to that thing going on over in China. And then in January, I started paying more and more attention. I'm like, what is going on over there? And finally, I'm like, oh, red alert. This is actually possibly going to be a pandemic. I'm not sure. Well, it is now huge. And so then it became obvious. But meanwhile, experts are like, it's not a pandemic. And the WHO only recognized this as a pandemic just a few days ago. And remember, this was clearly a pandemic in January by any definition. It was a pandemic by January, period. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's reasons why that the WHO did not want to call it a pandemic, and I think there was multiple reasons, and I might not know all the reasons, and I probably don't, but some seem to be financial related, some insurance matters, and some it's a big story. But anyway, and then others may have. Anyway, let's talk about that first. I need to study up on it more, but there were clear motivations to not call it a pandemic because it could have cost a lot of people huge billions of dollars, because that would have activated certain policies that in the case that the WHO calls something a pandemic, then all of a sudden these people have to start paying out and doing things, and they don't want to do that. So they could be financially compromised, politically compromised. Something was compromised. That much is clear. So let's keep going. So, but the United Kingdom, with their herd immunity plan, well, the good thing about this is when all the smoke clears and most of the people are dead who are going to die, which is probably going to be a huge number of people, then we'll be able to figure out who screwed up the worst. Because so far, other than a few places, I don't know anybody that's done it like super stellar, right? Singapore got ahead of it, credit. Hong Kongers got ahead of it, but they were still behind on masks. I mean, I had to send masks over myself to Hong Kong. And then their government completely screwed it up. The reason that Hong Kong is doing better than I would have ever expected is because the population itself is behaving smartly and with discipline, but not the government. The government's totally screwed it up. They left the border open to mainland China and all kinds of other things. And so, South Korea, they jumped on it early, but still not hard enough, clearly. And also Japan has jumped on it, But again, in the case of Japan, it's clear, or it appears clear to me from a distance, listening to Japanese friends and other things, is that as in Hong Kong, Japan is doing better for now because of cultural discipline, not because of Abe or the government, but because of Japanese. Japanese being Japanese, they're like, we don't need to be told. I'm going to wear a mask. I'm going to do social distancing. I'm going to take precautions. And so they seem to be smoothing the curve. But that's because of the Japanese people. That's not because of the Japanese government. And also Taiwan. Taiwan government did jump on it hard. Credit to them, and they're like threatening to put people in prison for years if you break this quarantine, which is the way it needs to be. It needs to be like straight up what we would normally call draconian. Let's see what Jay's saying there. Hey, Michael, school's closing in a big wake-up call for a lot of people in Virginia. There are finally a run on grocery stores, but I was happy to see that everyone in the stores I went to was being surprisingly calm and polite. It depends on which culture, of course. Some cultures are going to be calm and like, Japanese, or my particular culture in the United States would be calm. Well, I wouldn't even be at the store because I already got everything anyway. I mean, I went to the stores a lot, but I went in advance and I already had enough anyway. But then when I realized the potential severity of this, I upped my inventory because I realized this could be more serious. I mean, this could take down power grid. This could take down water. This could do some really seriously bad stuff. Hello, Kim Nance. Absolutely, I started watching you in January, thankfully, because I prepared. You were dead on about this virus. I really appreciate it. And please remember that, Kim. If you're new on my site, I have been amazingly accurate for years, but only when I'm talking this directly. So if it's a year from now and we're talking about something else and you see me going, well, I'll be, being very careful with my words, and I'm not going, you need to prepare now, but when I start talking like this, like, get on it, stop wasting time. If you ever see me talking like this, and you will in the future, that's when I've actually done enough homework that I'm willing to stake my reputation on, like, Iraq being in a civil war, or which I said a year and a half in advance of anybody, or these two generals need to be fired, and then they were fired, and one was reduced in rank to colonel because of something I did, and then, or the Afghan issues, which I was way ahead of, or Thai issues, or Japan issues, so many, a long list. But only when you see me talking this confidently and this directly is when you should really be alerted. And otherwise, I might be, if I would have said this in December. I don't know if I mentioned the virus in December. If I did, it will be on my live streams. But if I mentioned it in December, it would have been more like, hey, there's something going on in China. And in other news, here's the insurgency. You know what I mean? I would have just been, because in December, I was just like, hey, what's going on over there? I was starting to, it was grabbing my attention, but my alert wasn't high on it yet. It just had, it just got into my daily thing to look at. Let's put it that way. But not my daily thing to mention. Often things come on my private radar. Like, I'm like, check this today, check this today, check this today. Okay. Okay, that one looks like it's not a deal. I'm not going to mention it to people. Or this one keeps ticking up. Maybe I should throw a sentence out, that sort of thing. Shelly saying, yes, schools closed until March 30th in North Texas. Plan on schools being closed a lot longer than March 30th. A lot longer. If those schools are open before March 30th, it'll be because they're hospitals. I'll bet you a whole bag of coffee on that. If you're willing to take the bet, I'll tell you what kind of coffee I want. But I think that you'll actually, there's my water filter. I think you'll actually believe it. I mean, if those schools are open by March 30th in Texas, in North Texas, it'll probably be because there's something like hospitals or something like that. Sharon's asking a very smart question. And how can it take down water or power? Actually, this isn't a theoretical thing, because this happens a lot. Now, remember, epidemics and pandemics happen all the time. Epidemics are something that happen within generally one country or generalized, very specific area. pandemics spread out and they cross many countries. They cross political boundaries, and one like this is a global pandemic. Not all pandemics are global. You have to talk with the infectious disease experts. I'm lucky through the years. I've read a lot of their work and I pay attention to them because I realize these are smart men and women. When they're talking, I need to like zip it and listen. You know what I mean? And so when this, so they'll tell us, the infectious disease experts and the epidemiologists have warned for years. They've warned about this for more than 100 years, not just now, that when something like this happens, like in 1918 and other times, suddenly, if it's really big, and remember, some of these really big things only happen in localized areas, right? So it's not globally really big, but it's like a hurricane. It's really big for that area. Like a hurricane takes out the power in South Carolina, but it doesn't take it out across America and Europe, right? But a pandemic like this can cause people to stop going to work for whatever reasons. It can cause, if people that work in the plants are getting sick, or their families are sick, or they're quarantined, all of a sudden they don't have enough people to run the plants. And that's why we have to look at these people that work in the electrical business and communications business. These are now frontline soldiers. What happens when an AT&T office suddenly has 3 people infected? And all of a sudden they're like, well, we got to shut down the office. Yeah. And so that's why I'll have my SAT gear running here soon. So, I mean, it could happen in any country. Electrical grids, for instance, it's just the same situation. People stop going to work because that. And so it happens a lot. It just doesn't happen in America much lately, but because we haven't had a pandemic of this severity in any of our lifetimes. This is literally the biggest thing in any of our lifetimes, is the way it's looking now. I don't think I'm going to have to eat those words. And with every passing day, I am increasingly confident that this is actually the biggest thing that's happened in anybody's lifetime who is alive now, including somebody that was like 2 years old during the 1918 pandemic. I think the overall effects of this is my feeling right now. We'll see. But I sense that based on, I can't calculate it out and tell you this, and this. It's just all these things I study 7 days a week and traveling around the world and seeing so many things and studying for years and years. I see how all this can fit together in a very bad way and cause, and literally be the most society changing event that's happened possibly in human history. So we'll see, because, but power can go out. It certainly can go out. And if that happens, again, I want to go back to stock up now. And now the shelves may be empty now, but remember, supply lines are still open in most places, certainly in the United States and here in Thailand, and across probably most of Europe. Supply lines are probably still open. I don't know about Italy or Spain. I don't know. But it's going to ripple across Europe, Denmark. It's going to ripple across Netherlands. Did you see what the Netherlands prime minister was saying? What's his name? He was putting out the most idiotic advice. Something about how, kids should be able to go to school because kids can't get it and they don't spread it, or something like that. That's not verbatim, but it was something along. It was literally that level of idiocy. And so, so this is the sorts of bad advice that are going on out there, and why we have to rely on each other. Kenneth Watson asked, what kind of mask do we need to wear all the time or in public? I've got a bunch of these. I've given almost all of them away. And like I gave 400 away to my friends in Hong Kong and a couple hundred here in Thailand. And then, but I like this one. This is my favorite. If things get super serious, I'm going to wear my military mask. Like if I go to hospitals to check things out, I'm going to wear my military mask, which is more, it's a proper M50 mask, but for, I don't go out much. I'm mostly quarantined, actually. And when I do go out, I'm wearing latex gloves. I'm wearing my eye protection, which is not, it's not complete swimming goggles or something. It's not my military mask. And I'm wearing this mask, right? So I got gloves, I got that, and I'm wearing long sleeves. I'm wearing long sleeves because if people are talking and they spit on me, then it goes on my sleeve. And the experts will tell us that if this is dry, it deactivates it. And so when I come home, I take off my clothes outside and leave them outside, and this shirt doesn't even leave my house. Like that's why you keep seeing me with the same shirts on every day. Which you can see that anyway. But normally I'm washing them. When you see me, they're actually quite clean. But like I'll wear the same types of shirts in fighting all the time and the reason I do that, some people have asked me, why you're always wearing the same shirt? And I'm like, actually, no, I'm like Einstein. And so far as I've got many copies of the same ones because I know where the pockets are. I know exactly where the pockets are. I got all these pockets, right? You can't see them, but I got pockets all over this bad boy. Right. And so I mean, and there's like these extra pockets and stuff. Since I know where everything's at and I have my SOP for like, money goes here, phone goes here, pens go here. You know what I mean? So that's why you see me keep wearing the same shirt. It's not because I'm unimaginative on wardrobe, which I kind of am unimaginative on wardrobe, but I'm wearing it for, I'm utility, man. I'm out, I'm a war correspondent. I'm not Mr. Dapper Daddy, Let's see. I mean, if you want to know how to dress to hunt cannibals or go to combat, I can deck you out. If you want to look good like an Italian, it's not going to work so good. Let's see. Let's see here. Michael says, Michael D. Tobin, I believe many of us are going to have to live out of one single backpack when our homes are no longer our homes and we are literally at war with China and gasoline and electricity are non-existent. I mean, it's always a real possibility. When you say stuff like that, they really say you're crazy, but we actually, those of us who know we're not crazy and they can try to gaslight us all they want. And we'll just be like, you know what? Y'all were trying to gaslight me a month ago and you're the ones fighting over toilet paper. I'm just here looking at it on the news going, there they go again. I mean, how many times do I have to see this to know? And I got so many messages yesterday and the day before, so many, especially in the last 48 hours, a lot of angry messages like, wow, I went and there were literally numerous people said they saw fights in different places. And some people here may have seen that as well. And they're angry that people are hoarding and all this sort of thing. And I'm like, we know this happens every time. We know it happens every single time. There's a hurricane or earthquake or whatever. I mean, if you're over the age of about 20 and this is new, then you're really far behind. Everybody needs to be a prepper. And people often gaslight. I was watching the Joe Rogan show the other day. I like Joe Rogan, but somebody sent me links. They sent me links because there was numerous people sent the same link. He had an infectious disease expert on there. And it was like an hour and a half show. I watched I didn't watch it. I listened to the whole thing. And it was a good interview. Joe Rogan did fine. And the infectious disease expert guy, he was really worth listening to. What was the name of that interview? I don't know. But at one point, it was like Joe was almost making fun of the preppers. And I was like, I don't expect that from Joe Rogan. I expect a higher manhood from him. You know what I mean? Like a very high manhood from Joe Rogan. I expect him to be like totally with it. Like he's kind of making fun of the preppers, with their peaches. And I'm like, don't go down that road, Joe. You can lose respect very fast. And don't set the example to people that you're crazy if you're prepping, because many of us will then decrease our opinion of you very quickly. If you're encouraging people not to be prepared or saying, oh, that's all silly people, you'll lose respect and it'll be an avalanche of loss. So don't do that. Yeah, that's right. Ordip said that's who was on the Joe Rogan show. Michael Osterholm. Don says, I don't like Joe too much. He's weird. Actually, I like some of his shows. I don't watch all of his shows, but sometimes people send me links. And there was wow, Sharon said there was a stabbing with a wine bottle at a Sam's or Costco. I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, these situations always end up like this. People get killed, goes on and on and on and on and on. Oh, Glenn says Rogan is a Bernie lover now. Talk about divide respect. He's not young either. If it's like, I meet a lot of young people who are Bernie lovers, and I meet them, I'm like, they're young, they don't get it. So because some of them are clearly super intelligent. I used to talk with young people in Thailand all the time, but I'm not going out much right now. I'm talking like young foreigners too, like young, because you see a lot of tourists come here, and I like to talk with them, talk, what's going on in your country or whatever. And a lot of them are Americans, and a lot of them are Bernie lovers. And I'm like, wow, there's so many young, clearly very smart people that love him, and and they're clearly very intelligent, but they just don't have the life experience that I have out in communist countries and in socialist countries. They don't have that. So for me, I'm now the crazy older person that's like, you don't want none of that stuff. I remember when I was young and people would tell me how bad communism was, and I'd be like, they're exaggerating again. And then I was in years in communist countries later, and let me tell you what, not only were they not exaggerating, but they were not accurate on how bad it really was. I mean, it was worse than I was ever taught. I mean, I thought they were exaggerating. Like, when I would go to church, they'd be like, oh, it's so bad behind the Iron Curtain. I'm like, oh, y'all are exaggerating. And then I went behind the Iron Curtain quite a lot. And I was like, man, this place sucks. It's definitely better dead than red. And I don't mean us dead. I mean them. You know what I mean? It's like, if they come for us, it's like, I'm not going to die before. No, if you come try to make us communists, you're going to die. And I mean that with the actual capital D. You know what I mean? It's like, we're not going down like that. It's going to be, no way. We're coming at you like Drac. You know what Drac is? Dracula. And so it's like, no, we ain't going communist. No sirree, Bob. Let's see. Let's see here. Let me keep going down a few things. Yeah, one of my relatives up in Canada, she'll be studying medicine. She's going to become a doctor. She's super smart. But, didn't heed my warning, whatever, and didn't get food. She's very young. She's only 20. Okay. Unfortunately, she's Thai, so she's not fat, and so she doesn't have extra fat. Like, I'm American, so I can go a little longer without food. And she can do it. This is a good learning experience, to go through a little hunger, go to the store and it's empty. But right now, I do believe you're going to I do believe you still have a grace period to stock up in most places. Italy, I don't know. I'm not there. But I do believe there's still a grace period. The supply lines are still open. Do not delay. There's other ways to get food. Somebody made a comment yesterday on my page that MREs, meals ready to eat, like Army meals, are going for like $25 on Amazon. And remind me later. And so did you see that when this little alert just popped up? Please leave a comment if you saw that. And yeah. And so there's other things. Like, I checked this morning on Amazon. I went to a pharmacy yesterday, walked down every aisle, see if I forgot anything. And they had they had completely stocked with like protein supplements for bodybuilders and whey powder and all that stuff. There was like enough to outfit 20 people for a year, probably, literally. So, I mean, and I looked on Amazon before I went live, and I was like, oh, there's all these supplements. I almost put up a link to one, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do that, because then it'll look like I'm saying get that one, and maybe you think I'm getting money off of it. I'm not. So go, if you're having problems with food, go also to the pharmacy for food, or other places, the health food store, of course, and get, these supplements that bodybuilders and others use. They got a lot of protein in them. They got a lot of vitamins in them. Of course, buy vitamins, but you can go to Amazon and buy it online, right? And when you buy it, do not get less than a month's supply. Everybody needs at least a month's supply. To me, that's like, month supply is like that's like you're down to your knife. You know what I mean? You're down to your knife. I think everybody should always have a month's supply, period. Or I should say, when you get down to a week's supply, you're down to your knife. But when you get down to a month's supply, you're down to your pistol. You know what I mean? No, oh, Don is saying, Bernie's bro are not smart. They're brainwashed. Well, I think And I even published this in my book, Danger Close. I didn't publish a lot. I almost published a lot more about communism in that book, but then I was like, it's going to get off on a side topic. But I did mention that this is not over and we're going to face it again. But when I published that in the 90s, when I wrote it in the 90s, a lot of people thought communism was dead. And I was like, it's not. I spent a lot of time out with communists. It's not dead at all. Trust me. It is absolutely not dead. And a problem with communism is it's so easy to sell. It's like selling, free gold. I mean, it's like, it's almost exactly what it's like. It's very easy to sell, but then every communist country I go to is really, really terrible country. It's very, very terrible. But I've got years of experience out with them, and I've seen how easy it is to sell. For instance, when I was out with the Maoist, and I spent a year in Nepal, right? I was out with the Maoist a lot. When I was there, it was easy to sell to the Maoist because they're actually nice people, but they're 80% of the people in Nepal, as in 80% of the people in Afghanistan as well, live outside of the few main population centers, right? They're out in villages and whatnot. And the very corrupt people in Kathmandu in Nepal were, just taking all the money. So the people out in the villages, most of the population, they're out there living almost like cave people. You know what I mean? And so it's easy for people to come in and go, hey, they're taking all of our money, which they are. And hey, we're going to have to rise up and we're going to have to do this. And then everything will be peaches and cream. And everybody's like, let's all sing together. And they literally sing. They do cult. That's why communism is literally religious. Like it's literally like a cult. They do all the indoctrination techniques, like stay up late at night and sing, everybody march, come up and tell about your sins. What have you done wrong? Tell everybody, or tell the priest or whatever. But the communists do that too. Write down all the bad things that you've done, how you can do better. And then what they do is they do the social proof thing, get you to say it in front of other people. And then you're less likely to back off of it. It's all technical. We can talk when I published the cannibal books after most of us survived this plague. I'll tell a lot more about it. Donald's saying you can't comment on Facebook Live with the photos, but again, make sure you can go to Amazon right now. I just checked before I came on. There's all kinds of like protein supplements and everything else. They're like instant shipping. Apparently, not many people have thought about, hey, grocery stores are empty. Buy all that protein drink, and it'll work, And there's certain things that'll last very long shelf life, like powdered milk, of course, rice, white rice, actually. Some of the brown rice and all that won't last as long anyway, but white rice will last a long time. But you can freeze rice, make it last longer. Of course, honey has no expiration date. There's quite a few things. Vinegar, no expiration. There's a lot of things that have super long shelf. Your canned food products, if the expiration date is gone, unless it's got like 1950 expiration date, But I mean, the expiration date on your can, do not throw it away just because it says expired. I never throw away canned stuff. All these, they put expiration dates on salt, man, sea salt. Expiration dates on water. So make sure you do definitely check online if you don't have enough supplies and get delivered straight to your door. On like protein supplements and bodybuilding stuff and all that. There you go. And Shelly saying she found toilet. Everybody's looking for a toilet paper. That didn't even cross my mind. None of that stuff did. And by the way, another thing that you can, another thing, I'll get to you in a minute, Irene. Another thing that you can do, like, is for toilet, in case your water goes out, is get like a trash can or something like that, and like a bucket, and then cat litter, get some extra cat litter, and just put it in there and leave it. You don't have to take it out of the bag. Just leave it in the cat litter bag, right? And then, of course, some trash bags that fit that trash can. And then you take one of those pool noodles, right? I'm telling you the cheap way to do it, man. And so take a pool noodle and make that as the rim for your little toilet. Just make sure the trash can's strong enough for your body weight, right? And then you've got a toilet, right? And so and a waterless toilet. It's just like a compost toilet almost. So what did Irene say? Irene says, is it wise to think about gardening and planting food this summer? Oh, yeah, I would do it. I would do it for several reasons. One is gardening I used to help my granddad quite a lot, man. I'd snap peas and stuff till my fingers were hurting. But first, it makes you work out in the sun, and unless you're doing midnight gardening, and that makes you feel better. Have you ever noticed that people that have gardens seem to be like happier people? I'm not making this up. I've said this over the years. People that have gardens, they're like they're more happy for some reason. I wonder if it's just because they're out in the sunlight all the time. And gardening is not exactly always that easy. It depends on what you're gardening. And also there's something about eating food that you raised for some reason that tastes better. I don't know if you ever noticed that. But I don't know. This is just better. And you're out in the sunlight and you feel good. And remember, the vitamin D can be one of our lines of defense against this virus, or not just this, other things as well. You can get some water. But vitamin D, get out there in that sunlight. Vitamin D hits you, and also, because our bodies will make it, and so that's a viral defense. And also, like when I would take breaks from combat in Iraq and Afghanistan and whatnot, I would go walking around up in the Himalayas, hundreds of miles, and I would just be out there in the sunlight all the time. And so many people that have done even like 1/10 of the combat that I've done a lot of them would get PTSD. Actually, a lot don't. We don't hear about those, but everybody can. But I strongly think that my walking out in the sun all the time and walking up in the mountains and just, talking with people about other stuff, like, hey, look at that glacier, just cool stuff. Or what kind of bird is that? You're just having fun. You're out in the sun, and it like resets your mind. And then at nighttime, you sleep like a baby. You know what I mean? Because you're out working, you're out in the sun. You come in, you eat a bunch of food, and you're just like out. You see this candle? I'll use candles like this all the time and read. I'll use these to read my books at night. And I just put this candle up here to remind you to make sure you got like candles and that sort of thing. That's why I got it burning, so that just to remind, make sure you got enough, just in case the electricity goes out. It might not. Make sure you got enough propane and butane or whatever you use. It might not go out, and if it doesn't, cool. Get charcoal if you need it. If that's the way you want to cook, get plenty. But I like gas, obviously, for obvious reasons. But also having some extra charcoal doesn't hurt. In case you want to grill out, if you're in a position that you can grill out, like not in a condo in Manhattan, but country ham. Toy says, I got a country ham. It doesn't require refrigeration. Good. And that canned ham will last a long time. And it'll last a very long time. Let's see. Let me go down to the bottom here. Let's see. Try tomatoes. Matthew Dill, according to Bloomberg, you just need to make a hole in the dirt and add seed and a little water. He must be talking about his version of hunting, or not hunting, but Don Smith that says that's a hunting toilet. You mean with the cat litter? Yeah, and the Army, military, Marines use it too. They got this. It's just cat litter. It's got hand sanitizer and toilet paper, and it comes in this little bag like an MRE almost. Let's see. Let's see what Jennifer Hack is saying. My Thai basil, garlic, and chilies were planted as young plants in January. When I found out from you about the virus, it's paying off big time. Thank you. We all prepare in so many ways. That's excellent, Jennifer. And also, again, when you go shopping, make sure you get plenty of spices that make you feel good, happy stuff, right? Like, I like pepper. And pepper's got a lot of vitamin C, by the way. Make sure you got enough sea salt to get you all the way through to the end. Make sure you got enough, whatever things that you like that make it really taste good. Get you some virgin olive oil. And remember, virgin olive oil will actually will expire. So make sure to actually pay attention to that and how to store it properly. There's a lot of things that what makes you feel good when you eat it. So get that, and make sure you get the right spices, and make sure you've got the ability to cook, even if your electricity goes out. And there's many ways to cook, as you know. And just think about what fits your situation. See, what was Michael Tobin saying? throughout the year, I always get a couple of cans of sauce here, canned fruit there, spaghetti here, rice there. This weekend and last weekend, I just needed milk, eggs, toilet paper. Fortunately, there were still choices last week. Someone fraudulently deleted my debit card account, and I was able to get reimbursed just a couple of $100 in time for normal supplies last weekend. God had me covered for sure, but I'm good with food and provisions, just not a decent wage, but still provided for. God is good. And remember, I keep saying this over and over. Every time I see like something really bad happen, you know who pours out the help? Church groups. You know, those ones that the Bernie crowd always makes fun of. They're the ones that come out and help. You know, because the communists don't like Christians. They don't like any religion, not just Christians. They don't like it because that's competition, right? But every time there's a disaster, the church groups are out there helping, and also here in Thailand, the Buddhist groups, they help big time, and also Muslims have helped me a lot. As a lot of people in America are like, oh, the Muslims this, Muslims that. I'm like, I spent a lot of time. I spent years with Muslims. They've been very good to me, and also Sikh people are especially good people. So if you see Sikh people around, you're probably in good company. Donald is saying, you're talking about terrorism. That could happen. Toy is saying, it's not canned. You obviously aren't from Kentucky, Michael. It's full of salt, and I'll have to soak it for 24 hours before cooking it. Oh, wait a minute. So you mean the ham you got is, wait a minute. Michael, it's full of salt, and I'll have to soak it in. Oh, I know. You're talking about like tack. Yeah. I mean, like ham jerky. Yeah. I mean, that's better. I mean, and actually that'll last you for a long time. I don't even know how long. Probably last for 10 years or more. Hey, there's Mary Prophet. Mary Prophet, one of my most favorite people in the world. Oh, I was on your Facebook. Your library closed, huh? Oh, I didn't get that book yet. When I get it, I'll tell you, by the way. Thank you. I'm going to need that for research. But I'm not going to do that research now because that's, as you can see, we got a little sidetracked here with this virus. But I saw that your library is closing. Mary Prophet is like the combat librarian. Someday I got to get her after this is, or maybe when this is over. Because Mary Prophet's also the type that I can, if you just follow her Facebook, you'll see she got a lot of common sense. And maybe look, she's on the bottom comment, Mary Prophet. Just look at her Facebook. She got all kinds of cool stuff on. Oregano helps fight off sickness, Kim says. Actually, I should have mentioned that. I got loads of that. I got extra recently of oregano. I should have mentioned that. Buy some extra propane for us grillers out there, Glenn says. Yeah, get plenty of propane. And you know, it's cheap. It's so cheap. It's so cheap. And if you're in, it's also good to have a pressure cooker, of course, saves gas. And if you're at altitude, it makes a huge difference. Kimberly West is saying it's the AAR of the MRE. What do you mean, after action report? Are you talking about those little toilet paper, the toiletry things that come in the military uses? What are they even called? I don't even know. Because actually they don't bring them out that often. I don't know. I spent, some years in the wars and I didn't see them that often, but sometimes you see them. It's a whole ham, Toy says. Yeah, it's cured ham. Oh, that's good. Oh, good. Kim saying we always buy in bulk at Sam's, and we had bought a lot of things, including TP, before the run on stores began. Good. Every year I can tomatoes. Sister-in-law is a master gardener and top-notch nurse. We receive tons of greens from her. When it came to canning, by the way, I was looking at pressure cookers recently because I might start canning. My grandmother used to can all the time. Get out of the kitchen, Michael. Just pressure cooker will blow up and blow a hole right through the ceiling. Because remember, pressure cookers in the old days, man, they would literally kill people. Now they're much safer. And her pressure cooker never blew up, but she was always canning, so I would help her. Noni is essential oils help a lot. Also, up your probiotics. Oregano, and I wonder how well the probiotics they do. Actually, that doctor, some say it doesn't work. So Mary is saying her library is closed until 24th of April. Well, at least they're smart about it. Like, these people are saying their schools are going to be open on March 30th, or any school district that says that. They're putting people up for an expectation that's false. I don't imagine any schools that close now in the United States are going to be open by March 30th. That's hard to imagine. I mean, it's possible. It is possible. Let's see. There's a couple of other things I wanted to mention, and then let's just go through questions. Actually, most of it I've already mentioned. Oh, let's talk about fake maps. I wanted to mention that. Let's talk about this, John. Okay, can you see the Johns Hopkins map now? Is that what's showing on my screen? Actually, go like this. Wait. Messing up here. Let's see here. I wanted to show this Johns Hopkins map, but I wanted to say something else. And that is that, first of all, I'm having a little tech problem here. Let's go with this. And, anyway. All right. Let me get me out of the way. All right, here we go. We'll go like that. Okay, so you see the Johns Hopkins map? Do you see this up here, the big map with all the red? Okay, Dana Dean says yep. Dana Dean says no. Okay, Mark says no. Yes, Mark says. Okay, good. Murray says they see it. Good. All right, so let's talk about this. First of all, there are some fake maps going up that apparently are being used to attack and do malware attacks. And so be cognizant of that. Of fake maps going up, and they're actually malware, installing malware. Even during this, especially during times like this, the opportunists are going to come out of the woodwork. So when it comes to, for instance, donations, don't donate to anybody you don't know, period. And certainly not the World Health Organization or the United Nations. That's absolutely ridiculous. If you're going to donate to anybody, it should be like a church group or a temple, like a Buddhist temple or a Sikhs or something. It should be somebody that you actually trust is like 9 of your $10 is going to hit target instead of, 1 cent out of $10 is going to maybe hit target. If not, it's actually just going to be a scam, because every time, whether it's a tsunami or whatever, we all know it, but let's remind ourselves that times like this is not when it's not when everybody goes, okay, let's work together. Those opportunistic people, this is their moment of opportunity, and they're going to dive right in it. And so be aware of these fake maps that keep going out, and they look real, and they're actually installing malware. Now, this Johns Hopkins map is authentic, but they've been going with China numbers you see up here. That's why you never hear me mentioning the China numbers. It's because psychologically, you can say, here's what China's numbers are, but we don't trust them. But that number still sticks in our head, because psychologically, most of us truncate out that other part. And this can be used in trickery too, as well. Anyway, we can talk about that some other time. But you see a lot of numbers here coming out of Italy. How accurate are they? I don't know. Is Italy lying? I doubt it. But it doesn't mean that their numbers are accurate either. South Korea, Spain. Spain's about to get smashed. And the doubling rate of this is about every 4 to 5 days. So we got almost 5,000 cases, let's say, in Germany. So let's say that doubles in 5 days. 5 days, that's 10,000. 5 more days, that's 20,000. 5 more days, that's 40,000. 5 more days, that's 80,000. 5 more days, that's 160,000. This rocket's going to space. And that's just Germany. The United States almost certainly has far, far more. United States is here's U.S. reporting about 3,000 cases, right? It's absolutely ridiculous. I would not doubt at this point if we have 300,000. I wouldn't doubt that at all. And we'll see it very soon. We're going to see it very soon. We're going to see it soon as more. But since we're testing so little, when somebody else is getting sick, do we even know what it is? We might be saying, "Oh, it's just the flu." Oh, somebody else died from the seasonal flu, when it was really maybe this. And some people say, "What difference does it make?" It makes a big difference. It makes a huge difference. It makes a very big difference to know what they actually died of. It makes a significant difference. And the United Kingdom here with 1,100 cases, and literally decided policy to let it burn it, let it run its course. Wow. That's a firefighting decision to let a fire just go ahead and run across the country. I don't think I would, again, appeal to authority. We might go, well, they've thought it all through. They're so smart. But then I keep seeing the British and the American government screw up serially, whether it's Iraq and Afghanistan or so many other things, and like massive mess ups. Like Britain also doesn't have a strategic mask supply. That's their fault. We don't have one in the United States. That's our fault. Thailand doesn't have one. That's Thailand's fault. All these governments have been failing. Only 7% of America's masks are even made in America. That's our fault. So here we go. Now, let's talk about these numbers down here. Wait, Mike says he can't see the map. Oh, it's not there now, people are saying. Oh, how about now? Can you see the map now? No map. See, I didn't touch my face. I almost touched my face, but can you see the map now? Okay. Kirk. Oh, and how did I make that change? Kirk says, looking at the SAS Survival Handbook, 3rd edition, Guide to Surviving Anywhere. Any recommendations? I've read all those survival books so much. I practically got them memorized. Actually, when I went to Green Beret survival training, a lot of that stuff that we were learning there was stuff that I learned how to do with my granddad. So, except for being super hungry from the training and tired from the training. So here's the map. Can you see the map? Can you see the map now? Because I want to do something. If you can see the map, I want to show you something else on here. All right. Hello from Alabama. No map yet. Wuhan caught the world flat-footed. Didn't catch me flat-footed. It didn't catch a lot of us flat-footed. It just caught most people flat-footed. Anthony says, testing per million population. The U.S. is nearly last in the Western world. It's unbelievable. That's why Brian Kofaja down on the southern border and Steve Bannon, they have to work on building a border wall because our government sucks so much that Brian and his supporters have to go build a wall. I mean, that's why I have to do this instead of getting it from the CDC. I don't trust the CDC. Don't trust the World Health Organization. They keep giving us bad, and so you're not seeing the map still. All right. What am I doing wrong here? How about now? Do you see the big map? See a big map now? We have to do it ourselves because if we don't do it ourselves, it's just not going to get done. How about now? John Jones and Daniel Robbins in Arkansas. All right, Arkansas. All right, John Campbell sounds skeptical about the UK strategy, discusses it here. Ewan says, yeah. And so, okay, let's go to the map. And now I just seem to have messed something else up. I hope you still see the map because I want to show you something here. Okay, yes, it's still there. Yes, you see the map. Okay. All right. I want to, okay, look at this thing down here. Look at this part of the map. Wait, this part of the map. You see that? That's in the lower right corner. Now, I don't trust the Chinese statistics at all, so I'm not even going to mention them because people keep saying it's leveling out. Really? Is it? I mean, whatever. And so we'll take that one off. And this is total recovered is the green, right? But we're looking at more cases, right? And look at this. It's doubling about every 4 to 5 days. Like, look at this. Here is 75,000 cases, right? So let's see. 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day. and that day it was about 38,000. So you see, it's doubling about every. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you see that one's kind of flat. Tomorrow it'll be up here. They seem to update it at least twice a day. And the first, at least twice, and that first update will look like, oh, it's flattening out, but it's not. You'll see it. It'll be skyrocketing. Notice the distance between these lines is getting further and further. You see, it's getting to be longer distances because it is just about to blow through the roof. And it won't be very long until the map looks like this just for, say, California, right? In other words, 80,000. It'll be very soon that this will look like that just for California. But we're not going to be testing enough at this rate, so maybe we'll never see the true numbers. The numbers we'll see are the backhoes that are needed to bury people like they're doing in Iran. If we get down to that, it literally could get like that in the United States. I mean, how are we going to bury if we have 1 million people die in the next 6 months? How are we going to bury 1 million people, especially when the graveyards are? How are you going to dig or cremate 1 million people? I mean, it's going to require some logistics. So let's go back here, and if it's that bad, I mean, I've seen estimates between 1 and 200,000 and 1.7 possibly million Americans, but let's see. Nobody knows, and that's just from the why is this going wrong? So I'm trying to make this map show correctly again. Let's see here. That's my YouTube page right there, by the way. Go to this YouTube page right here if you can see this. I don't even know if you can see it. And it's Michael Yon, War Correspondent and Cannibal Hunter. It's the one with about 3.6 thousand people on there. Go to that one and sign up for that one. And that one right there. And that one has better video and audio than Facebook. Facebook attenuates the signal for some reason. Why can't I make this a large screen? Sorry about that. Well, and now I'm having a difficulty time seeing the comments again. Let me go back down here. Oh, there we go. Okay, now I should be able to see comments again. All right, here we go. I'm still here, Wei Sean. Yeah, still going. And map is gone. Mike Morgan says, okay, the map is, I've just taken it off. Okay. Actually, I wasn't seeing any of the dislike. I'm not seeing any of those things pop up, Mark. The only thing I'm seeing on the right hand of my screen is all the comments on the right. And I don't even know if you can see those. I don't even know if you can see the comments on the right scrolling up at all, but I can see them, and then I click some of them. Where's that chart from? Don says that's from Johns Hopkins. But Johns Hopkins is clearly compromised. Johns Hopkins was just recently calling Taiwan part of China. They were just doing that like last week or so. Maybe it was this week until people like me went crazy on them. And then they changed it, but they're clearly compromised. They're compromised. I don't trust John. And this is vital. One of the most important things right now is that we be able to trust our various governments. And I simply do not trust the U.S. government. And it's not based on me being distrustful at all. I'm not. It's not that at all. They keep giving us ample reason not to trust, like saying masks don't work when we know they work. And because we have a strategic shortage of masks, we only have 1% of the masks we need, apparently some number in that area. And so they're telling us not to wear a mask, and they don't work because they don't have enough masks because they screwed up for a century and didn't make a strategic mask supply. Likewise, so we have to MacGyver our mask. Well, I don't have to because I've had them for years. I'm good to go. I'm Mr. Prepper that people like to make fun of. But I didn't have to run out and get masks. I'm not going to have to fight for toilet paper or black beans, So, and our governments are simply wrong. And John Jones is saying California wanted open borders, just deserved. No, United States is California is part of the United States. They're not like some separate country. So if they want to open their borders, there's no way for them to just open their border. If you open a border in Texas or New Mexico or Arizona or California or whatever, then you're opening up the United States. I mean, that's a state. Irene asked, do the people die from coronavirus need to be cremated as not to continue to spread the virus? I think just bury, but I don't know. I mean, that's something that the United States needs to think about anyway as our population grows. If we get more and more people and we get more and more, that's a subject for a whole different time. But certainly we could have a problem with what to do with all the bodies very quickly. Okay. Irene says, what is the expiration date on masks? Legit, or can they be used long after? I mean, I don't know how long these things can wear out. Americans put expiration dates literally on water. And a lot of other people do too. They put expiration dates on salt. Salt. Go into your kitchen, if that's where you keep your salt, if you have salt, and look on the bottom or wherever, and you'll see there's an expiration date or a best used by date or something like that. On salt, it's been around a billion years or something. Out, that salt's probably been in blue whales and seals and plankton and everything else. The salt's doing just fine, thank you. It's they find it up and 1,000 miles away from the ocean. It's the salt can be in the sun or in the cold or in the up or down. It can be everywhere. The salt doesn't. So we put expiration dates on everything. I don't know what you're mentioning. Okay. Ed Celio saying legitimate Johns Hopkins virus map link. Yeah, that's. I think that map is useful. I would not trust it specifically on anything, but as a general directionality, I think that's where it's useful. I think it's directionally useful, but specifically, I don't like the doubling time. I think is useful, but look at the United States. We're like third world country on this. I mean, the United States is literally worse than China. I'm not. I'm American, man. I wear my hat all the time. I'm totally American. I'm born in the USA. My mother's side came over in 1609. You can't get more American than me unless you're like Cherokee. You know what I mean? But let's call the ball where it lands. You know what I mean? And where the ball's landing is the United States. And we keep saying we're the best prepared country in the world. No, we're not. In fact, we're behaving worse than China on this and lying. Our expert, Jerome Adams, Surgeon General, Navy guy, out wearing his big old Navy hat in front of the White House, saying all these things and tweeting nonsense. By the way, he did tweet out about maybe 24 hours ago or so, asking hospitals around the United States to stop doing any elective surgery. That should tell you something. I mean, they're asking hospitals to cut down on a lot of elective stuff. Remember, as our hospitals get overwhelmed, and they almost certainly will be soon, if you have a car accident, it will not matter how much insurance you have. It doesn't matter how rich you are, unless you can have your own clinic and doctors. If you're super rich, maybe you just have a doctor that you keep in the back doctor's house with his family, that are always on call because they live on your property because you're like, Michael Jackson rich or something. But unless you're that level of rich and you got your own x-ray machines and MRIs on your property or your little community or something, you know what I mean? If you have to go into any major hospital, even for a car accident or something like. So if I were you at this point, I would shut down on things like elective things that are high risk, like parachuting, things where you might break your leg and you might need help, things like mountain biking. I would consider doing less mountain biking right now. I would consider doing a lot less of anything that might seriously get you hurt, that requires any sort of long recovery. because even if you're okay to go in right now, you may not be able to continue to do the checkup calls. Speaking of which, I got to take my dog Barney to a checkup call today, and I'll be all decked out when I do. But after this, I should be almost totally quarantined. You're most welcome, Bretta. Make sure everybody's got your water filters. Make sure you've got many light sources. That's why I keep that candle burning to remind people. All kinds of light sources. Make sure you got plenty in case electricity goes out. I like candles because they're just cool. I like this too because I like it. It's just cool. But I got so many lights, man. I got lights everywhere, man. I'm like a lighthouse. When I was in the wars, I would carry a light. If you see photos of me, that a lot of people, post photos. I usually wasn't posting photos of myself, but I would almost always have a light around my neck, a headlight, right? But I would keep it around my neck because often whatever would happen and we would have no electricity and you don't want to, in combat, you don't want to have, where's my light type stuff. So I got to the point where I would like, where's my light? You know what I mean? Even after I left the wars, you might see me touch like this, and I'm actually checking like, where's my light? It's like, John saying Americans are panicking because the media are ramping this up and flooding stores, possibly infecting others. This is disgraceful. Some Americans are panicking. Some Americans like me are just like, whatever. And John Vindawega says, you are a babbling idiot. Well, just babble your little self out of here, John, and go jump off a cliff. Why don't you just block your little self? I'm not going to waste time blocking you. Let's see. No roller skating, Dana says. Yeah, I would not roller skate right now unless you're like, 6 years old and you can fall and your bones never break. You know what I mean? But if you're like, in your 20s or something and your bones actually break when you fall or you get hurt or cut, I would not do it. I would encourage everybody to reduce. Gloria saying, how about going to the gym to work out? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Don't go to the gym even one more time. Start working out at home. You can walk out or run in the sunshine and stuff. You don't need to wear a mask if you're not around people. I mean, if you want to go run around the lake or up and down the river or something, you don't have to wear a mask as long as you're not with other people. You're out in the sunshine and stuff. You can just go out there and like normal. I mean, like when I go walking in the sun, sometimes I'll wear my mask just for training, to make sure I want to be comfortable with it. But a lot of times when I'm walking, I'm not. I'm just walking because I'm just with my dog. Gene says, what is your opinion on why Thailand seems to have minimal problems right now? Remember, Italy seemed to have minimal problems about 2 weeks ago, right? and you probably haven't seen all of my live streams, or maybe if you have, you might not remember. But I said on maybe a couple of weeks ago that like one medical expert that's in Thailand and watching Thailand very closely, he thinks that Thailand's probably going to peak in more like May. So we'll see. And because the peak happens at different times, like, there's parts of the United States that probably don't have any of this yet, but soon it'll be spread all over the United States. It's already spreading, all over the place. But it takes time. Yeah. John Jones says, prep early and have no fear. Boy Scout motto. Exactly. Be prepared. Be prepared. That's what they teach you, right? Be prepared. Be prepared. That's what they call Boy Scouts, a paramilitary organization. It actually kind of is, actually. Actually, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts are very popular in Thailand, too. Yeah, I would not go to the gym now. Show us my dog. She's Barney's outside somewhere. I'm looking at the security cameras. I don't know where she's at. She might be sleeping outside my door. Let's see. Irene is saying, honestly and approximately and realistically, how long do you think this current danger is going to last? Okay. See, that's a super important question. And I think that question is probably a lot more complicated than it may seem, because the virus part of it itself is very complicated and takes experts to talk about, which I'm paying attention to 7 days a week. But the virus part is only one part of it. Remember, there are other components that are just as important. Economy, and also finance and political issues. Are we even going to have an election in the United States this year? And if we don't have an election, are people going to say, well, look, President Trump is trying to seize power, which would play right into a myth that people have been building, like he's going to cancel the elections. Well, they've been saying that since, 2000, whenever he got elected. So I mean, but this would play right into that little confirmation bias, which could cause violence. But will we be able to have elections? I don't know. I simply don't know. UK, I think, has already delayed their elections, right? Am I correct on that? I think the United Kingdom has already delayed their elections. I mean, we could all, even if Obama was president or if whoever was president, even if it was Bush or Obama or whatever, I would understand that we might have to delay elections in America, but I don't know if we would get to that or not. I just don't know. So when will this actually pass? Because remember, there's different components. There's the viral part, which could be a long, long time, not within just months. Even the experts don't know how is this virus going to be in the heat in the summertime. They don't actually know yet. They'll know soon. But is there going to be a second wave that's going to be a lot worse? Because remember, the experts tell us all the time that the second wave is nearly always worse because these things will come in waves, right? Well, listen to the experts talk about that. But so how long will it last? Well, the economic part, I mean, that literally could be the worst, even after we lose a huge number of people from this specific virus. And remember, there's the problem set that the virus creates, like filling up the hospitals. And now people that get in a bicycle accident can't go get treatment. And somebody with hepatitis can't get treatment. Somebody that needs dialysis, kidney, we got hundreds of thousands. I think almost 500,000 people need dialysis in the United States. And their immune systems are already compromised. Or how about people on chemotherapy? How about anybody with compromised immune systems? I'm not a medical expert, so I'm not going to go very far down that road. I'm going to open the door and look in it and say, okay, there's the door. Listen to the experts. But one thing you don't need to be an expert to recognize is that once our system is overfilled, all of us can see the implications of that. The implications of that are huge amounts of people will die from other things. And also our pharmaceuticals, more than 80% of our pharmaceuticals in the United States and a huge amount here in Thailand and also across Europe and Japan are made in China. And China has already overtly threatened the United States about cutting off our pharmaceuticals. They threatened it in the way that people like me who study China, remember, I've written 3 books on Chinese information war. 1, 2, 3. That one came out like 2 weeks ago. So this is not something that's new to me. There's a reason why I'm paying so much attention to this. Well, there's numerous reasons. There's not just one, but one is I study the China issues. This book just came out about 2 weeks ago. It's my 3rd book on Chinese information war. Unfortunately, it's only in Japanese language. But that's me when I was in the Iraq war. They like to put my young, more handsome picture in there. So anyway, but when will this end? Be prepared for a long haul. If you psychologically prepare yourself, this is what we're doing now, talking this through, talking about our preparations. Remember, rehearsal, and it doesn't always have to be physical rehearsal. Mental rehearsal about what you're going to do is huge. I mean, when I used to do a huge amount of sports, I used to be super athletic and I mean, like crazy athletic, right? And just rehearsing in your mind is very important. And actually, really serious high-level combat soldiers will tell you that too. Sometimes you can't always rehearse what you're going to do physically for whatever reason, but rehearse it in your mind. What are you going to do? Go through everything, and then that when the time comes, snappity snap, you're ready to go, right? And so also right now when we rehearse and we go, well, what are we going to do when the stores are empty? Well, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go, well, the stores are empty. Whatever. You know what I mean? And so I'm mentally prepared, which is a big deal. I'm mentally prepared to be here in isolation. We'll just come on together. We'll have the quarantine coffee and book club. We'll talk about books or whatever. We'll share ways to get through being stir crazy or whatever. Like John says, food may become scarce, but never unattainable. We can hunt. Well, it depends. I mean, Ted was saying, explain why your books are in Japanese. Actually, I should have them in English too. I have one manuscript that's in English of my first book, but actually, I want to talk. I want to publish these in English later. Now's not the time though, because I think very few people are going to read them in Japanese or English now. Although, actually, if you have read my latest book in Japanese, please leave comments for it on Amazon.jp. Numerous people are sending me messages that they just read it and they love it. And then this virus thing is sucking the oxygen out, of course. So it's not everybody's going to get hit economically. Speaking of which, I always depend, even though I write books, I write books that actually don't make a lot of money because they're important. They hit certain people that get things done. But I actually, since 2005, my main source of income since 2005 has been donations. It's been PayPal and more lately, Venmo, Patreon. Patreon is very, very helpful. Please hit my Patreon. Please hit my PayPal. Patreon I like the best because people will sign up monthly. And be careful. When you sign up on Patreon, the default is monthly. So don't be surprised. I think you can make it individual one donation. But so in other words, if you donate like, $10 and then the next month, hey, $10 came out of my thing again, just be cognizant of that. But you can also make a one-time donation. I like it when it's monthly because then I can plan what the monthly is. What are the odds for martial law? John T. Jones says. I would say in some parts of the United States they could be high. I would say high. But in some parts, it depends on what part of the United States you're from. If you're from my part of the United States, I think martial law would not be needed because we're more civilized than some other. There's some cultures within the United States that will take any opportunity. Like, for instance, when you saw the Katrina happen, immediately rapes, murders, high amounts of looting, and all kinds of other it was just prison rules, right? It was like, police ain't here, we're in charge. It's law of the jungle, right? That's why Americans, we ain't giving up our guns and don't even try to come get them. You're going to get hurt. And so, because we realize that the United States is not safe in a situation like this. So in some places, let's say any place where, there's a high threat of, just imagine your community with no cops. In some communities, that's perfectly fine. They'll be like, well, there's no cops. You know what I mean? So what? Nothing happens here anyway. And in other communities, no cops means it's on, man. And you need to be able to defend yourself. And of course, martial law is not going to happen until way post facto. Like Angela says, in Los Angeles, we would definitely need martial law. Definitely. And in Los Angeles, I would think, in certain areas, the threat level can be significant. In one of the states that tries to take everybody's weapons, and where the people that you need the weapons against are the ones that'll never give them up. Like the criminals are never going to give their weapons up. And like Donald says, dry firing helps preserve skills a bit for me. Dry firing, he means firing your weapon like a rifle or whatever without ammunition in it. Just make sure you've got the type of weapon that you can actually dry fire without damaging it, which like, AR-15 or whatever, you can dry fire it all day long. It won't hurt it. But yeah, dry firing is very helpful. Don says, we all good on Hawaii. We chill. In Hawaii too, man, you got a lot of stuff out in the jungles. There's lots of people that live out in your jungles. I've been out around Hawaiian jungles. I was out there researching this because one of the cannibals I tracked used to live out there, actually. And so I found all kinds. You got thousands of homeless people live out in the jungles in Hawaii. And I don't know what will happen in Hawaii with them when they start getting sick, because they're going to get sick too. Because they don't just live out in the jungle full time and never come in. They breathe, they come in and out. They'll be out on Waikiki Beach, and then they'll be out, above the up there on what's it, Manoa Ridge? What's that called, Manoa Ridge? Anyway, I've been up there, out with some of them, talking with them, doing research. Hello in Canada. I hear you guys. Some of your stores are empty. Kirk Miyake, because of all the spam. They love spam in Hawaii. They love spam all across the Pacific. Mike Morgan says Biden dry fires his AR-14 all the time. Yeah, he probably thinks his AR-14 is a shotgun. He probably thinks his AR-14 is a triple barrel shotgun, loaded up with rock salt or something. Oh, Manoa, yes, Don Sakuda. Barbara Spalding says Manoa. Yeah, the one of the cannibals used to live out there. So I went out there checking out where he lived and that sort of thing. And I found quite a few people out there, and I talked with them. Baltimore, Don Sakuda's asking, do you mean martial law? If there's one place in the world besides Los Angeles, it could be places like Baltimore, Miami. I would look to places that have spam. Henry Pierce, I have spam. Spam lasts forever, man. But places that are more likely to have some sort of martial law, if it comes to that, which I would say is a significant possibility, would be places that have had serious riots in the past, especially riots over like what is relatively trivial stuff, or just opportunistic criminality that happens when there's like a hurricane. If it's a place where when there's a hurricane, everybody's stealing all the shoes out of the stores and beating up people and raping people and stuff like that. That's it. If it's happened before, always look to history. That's why you see serious military people are always like, what book are you reading now? Have you read the book on the whatever war or whatever? You know what I mean? Because it really does. History really strongly rhymes. But across the United States, where there's been trouble before, there'll be trouble again. And remember, importantly, in the United States and a lot of the places where there has been huge riots before, they no longer have stores in their areas because they looted or burned down stores before, and the stores don't go back in. Sorry, I was checking security. And the stores don't open up again. So they might have to take buses that go 5 or 10 miles to go shop, right? And so what are they going to do when the buses aren't running? What are they going to do when when the trains aren't running? What are they going to do? They're not going to just go hungry and do nothing. They're going to come to where the food is. And look at that big rich man's house right there. Yeah, right. You know exactly what's going to happen. Never, ever surrender your weapons. This is quite serious. United States, it ain't Japan. Like I said on Random Yoko's live stream last night when we did a 2-hour and 20-minute live stream, I was, she's Japanese. She lives in southern Japan. I was like, if I lived in Japan, why would I want guns? You know what I mean? If I lived in Japan, because it's just something else I have to clean. But I like to shoot and stuff. I've enjoyed that since I was a kid. But I wouldn't feel like I needed to have a gun in Japan. Why would I need a gun? The only reason I'd need a gun in Japan is like if like thinking about maybe Chinese would invade, and in which case I'll start killing Chinese invading. You know what I mean? So in that case, but I wouldn't need a gun in Japan just because there's a typhoon or a terrible earthquake or something like that, or tsunami. You're not going to need a firearm because Japanese are super ultra civilized. You know, you don't need a gun. But in America, we've got elements that are ultra uncivilized. It is absolutely law of the jungle. And when that cork comes off, every man is going to be for himself because the cops aren't going to be there, especially if the cops are. And remember, often when the police aren't there, there's not a virus in the background that's just taking a third of the police force off because they're in quarantine or whatever. You know what I mean? The police don't even come when they've got the entire police force there. And so by the time there will be martial law, if it comes to that, it will be after a lot of people are already murdered. You know what I mean? It will be after that happens, if history is any guide. Don says, I'll go escape to Japan. We have family in Okinawa. Yeah, he's going to be safe in Japan. Let's see. Nikki Jones. One case in Salisbury, Ontario city is hoarding toilet paper. Haha. I believe this is worse than toilet paper. People need to be prepared. Yeah. If they're still going for the toilet paper and passing the food by, either they got a lot of food at home and that's why they need the toilet paper, or they got their priorities mixed up. Kim Nance says, you keep talking about cannibals. One of your family members told me last time when I asked that you hadn't written a book. I'm very interested in knowing what you keep speaking about the cannibals. You are not going to believe it. It's going to be probably 5 books. And, you know, after we're all stir crazy, I won't go stir crazy. I got good mental health, you know, but and we can all have that. And by the way, if you have anybody that, make sure to be calling anybody you think lives alone, old people, call them up all the time, get them online, or tell them to come on here, tell them to come on my Facebook and or YouTube and chat with us, and or call them, because you know old people get lonely just like little kids, right? And so that's why a lot of elderly people actually commit suicide. It's loneliness, right? And so during this time when a lot of people are in quarantine, don't let them be lonely. You know, call them up all the time, bug them, you know, say, hey, what's going on? Give them something to do, actually, you know what I mean? Because, you know, when you're focused on something to do, you forget, oh, you're not lonely when you I got to do this. I got to help that kid do something, you know what I mean? So they got something to do, and it'll make them happy to have something to do. And because everybody wants to feel productive. I want to feel productive. I feel productive when I'm helping you get prepared. It makes me fulfill my hero dream. You know what I mean? I'm a soldier. I got to defend my people and my country and the world. You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm doing my job, right? So when you feel like you're doing your job, you feel fulfilled, but you need a job. Everybody needs a mission in life. And when you got a mission in life that's bigger than you feel really good. So find a mission. Good. Ted said he called his 91-year-old mother today. Don Sakuda, bitter gourd. You mean bitter melons? If we outsource toilet paper production, I don't know. Ted is saying, explain why China's GDP dropped 5% in America and USA 20%. That's something that you're going to need to talk with economists about, and business, not just economists, but people that have those specific specialties. I can take a stab at it, which I think will generally be accurate. One is, we know China falsifies their numbers, so there's that. So with the China drop 5%, where'd that number come from? You know what I mean? So there's that. Weishan says, we have them in Singapore and parts of Australia. There's a lot of stuff that you can. Hey, Hassan. Yeah. Hope everything's good in Morocco. What a beautiful country, man. I've never been there. One of our old, Morocco. I got to go to Morocco. I really got to go to Morocco. Every time I meet a Moroccan, I'm like, you're from Morocco? And I want to ask them about Morocco. When the United States, we had our Revolutionary War, fighting the British and stuff. I had grandfathers that fought in the Revolutionary War. We tracked them back. And the first country that recognized the United States was Morocco. Moroccans, I think, all know that, right? Americans don't seem to know that. So every time I meet a Moroccan, I'll be like, thank you. And they'll be like, thanks for what? And I'm like, for recognizing the United States, and they're like, oh, you're welcome. It's like, and we're still good partners. The United States and Morocco are still good partners. I don't think we've really had any rough spots, have we? I mean, we've had a good relationship since 1700s. You know what I mean? It's like a long time. But I hope you guys are ready in Morocco, and make sure your family's ready for this. Wait, Matthew Dill says, lost your work because you have TBI since 2016. How'd you get TBI? Hassan, yeah, I hope all your folks are doing good in Morocco, and I'll bet you're having the same problems that we're having in Thailand and United States and other places, where a lot of people are like, wow, why are you so getting excited? And they're like, what are you doing? And then you have to, just take care of it yourself, or keep bugging them. Oh, you hit a car with on your bike. You hit a car, or a car hit you. Hmm. Well, I hope you have a plan on how to get through this um, with TBI. I think a lot of people are going to be unemployed soon. By the way, I mean, it's pretty clear. A lot of people are going to be unemployed soon. Uh, Kim Nance, yes, indeed. My dad never cooked, but he would take his girls camping in a teeny camper, and he would cook. Sam, it was actually, you know what? One thing, I'm almost tempted to buy some grits and get them shipped over here. I haven't had grits in a couple years now. Connie sent me some grits 2 or 3 years ago. Man, I I hoarded the grits. I would like ration them. I rationed out the grits, and I just love me some grits. I might have to get some more grits while the getting's good. Yeah, well, Morocco, y'all you're the ones who are the first country to recognize the United States as a country, because the United States was having that same kind of problem that Taiwan is having now. People are like not recognizing it. Morocco's like, you guys recognized it, recognized us as a country. Thank you very much, sir. Thank your grand parents, great 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 grandparents. Yeah, I love grits too. Wait, Don, you live in Hawaii. You don't even know what grits are. Let's see. How'd you ever learn what grits are? Let's try to answer a few questions here. I've already said most of the things I wanted to say, but let's see. Eileen Hogan, hi, I'm an old person, 80, and never lonely or bored. What's wrong with me? Oh, it means you're squared away. That's why you're 80 and you're still alive and kicking and you're on Facebook, like because you got energy and you're out there rolling. It's funny. I used to look at like 70 as being old, and now I don't even look at it as being old anymore. I don't look at even 70 as being old anymore. You know what I mean? I'm just like, and you're 80. There was like an 86-year-old Japanese woman, I think, climbed Mount Everest. Can you look that up? Was she 86 or something like that? Was she? Can somebody look that up? I don't want to do it right now because it mess up my. But it might knock us offline. But I think there was like an 86-year-old Japanese woman actually climbed Mount Everest. Mark is saying Hoboken, New Jersey, citywide curfew 10 to 5 a.m., which means that's just not a nice area. Kirk says, I saw a grit on my cousin Vinny. He saw grit. It's not a grit, Kirk. It's grits with an S. You got to put an S on the end. There's no such thing as a grit. A grit means like toughness. Like we're going to see it through. He's got grit or she's got grit. It means they're tough, right? They got persistence. They're like, they got set back and they're like, I'll do it again. You know what I mean? But grits are what we eat. Ted says, are you joking? I'm 71 and have had 9 surgeries in the past decade. 9 surgeries for what? My mom is 84 and would call her more often if she wasn't out playing golf. See what I mean? It's like I don't look at that. I used to look at that as like ancient, like you got tree rings on you or something. And now, yeah, it's like Barbara said, 70 is the new 40. It is weird, isn't it? I just don't. I used to think 70, we got to go take care of them. I'm like, 70, you should be helping us dig this ditch. You know what I mean? What are you doing sitting down over there? It's like, what is everybody retiring so early for? Retire and die. You know what I mean? We got to keep busy and keep some kind of work going. Oh, Marlene Honeywell, I thought you meant breakfast food. 70 and feeling great. See what I mean? Let's see. There's probably a lot of questions up here I missed. I know there's a lot because there's a boatload that came in. Nikki Jones is saying 10 years ago and plus years, we never questioned this would happen. Maybe a hurricane or hurricanes, not a virus. I did because I listened to old people, And old people warned us about this since, forever. And so I've always had masks. I've always been prepared for this. I knew it was coming. I didn't know if it would come in my lifetime, but it now has. Justin Howell saying, love the 5.2 destroyer behind you. Yeah, man. I love 5.2. That's it. You know who I got that from? I got that from Sergeant Major Prosser. I used to keep my PVS 14s in this. You know what that is? That's for night vision. That's where you keep your night vision gear. You don't need that big old container for night vision. But anyway, that's where I keep my PVS 14s. And but I wouldn't take that on a mission. I wouldn't take that giant thing on a mission. You know what I mean? That's keep that in the tent or wherever. But now I just use it for storing stuff. And I like, if 5.2 guys come on, they'll know what it is. I love 5.2, man. Y'all are great. Remember that punk writer Michael Hastings was like trying to cause all kinds of problems? He's dead now, so he's not going to be a problem anymore. Irene says, Irene Gardicus Larkin, Michael Yon, I just ordered 2 survival guides just in case. Not being fearful, just being responsible. Absolutely. Read the Army Survival Manual. There's a lot of other ones out there. Also, it makes you more mentally prepared. That's very important. When you're just mentally prepared, like, I'm ready for this. Like, I think that's one reason I did so well in combat was because I had, well, first I'd been a Green Beret, and also I'd done all kinds of other stuff that probably will never make it to a book. And then I did the cannibal hunting and all that stuff. And then, and I'd mentally rehearsed it a lot. So when I would get out with combat units and whatnot, or I'd actually kind of done it. And so, so you're calmer. And so the more we talk about it, the grid could go out. You know what I mean? Then if it happens, we'll just be like, oh, well, I knew it could happen. Whatever. Where's my candles? It's like, and it'll just be like, so what? I knew this could happen. It's not a big deal. Let me see. And so, the more we talk about it, the easier it'll be. Hassan says, thank God we have you, good relation, and welcome to Morocco. I'm going to come to Morocco, man. I can't believe I haven't been there yet. And I'm going to thank every Moroccan, hey, from one American, thank you for being a very positive, just being a positive friend to the United States just since 1770. When did you guys recognize us? Was it 1778? I don't remember. So, when did Morocco recognize the United States? It was a trade relation thing. I can't remember. I've read a lot about it, but I think it was 1778. I don't remember. But anyway, it was Morocco first. Morocco's like, we'll recognize you. But there was pressure, of course not to. But make sure, Irene, read those manuals from cover to cover. I mean, literally read it. You'll read in the Army Survival Manual, don't eat, polar bear liver, because of, too much vitamin D, or what, too much. Oh, which vitamin is it? Anyway, too much of that. I can't believe I don't remember that. I've read that book so many times, either the whole thing or read parts of it because, I was always getting in situations where I'm going to have to run from the enemy and go live in the jungle. You know what I mean? Or, if the Chinese had really attacked Hong Kong last year, I was going to go live in the jungle. I wasn't going to leave. I was going to stay up in the jungle. So I need skills. I was going up there with my satellite gear. Colleen Smith says, I heard people talking about using CPAPs and BiPAPs for makeshift respirators. Anyone know anything about that? As a person who wears a BiPAP, I can tell you I hate wearing it when sick, but some people have been saying it might help. I've heard that. Actually, I went to a pharmacy last night and then a couple days ago looking for oxygen. I don't need it, or oxygen concentrator. And I don't need it, but I'm just thinking if my neighbors get sick or I get sick or somebody close to me gets sick, then at least we have, because oxygen has run out has run out in Italy. So there's an oxygen shortage in Italy. And you look at some countries like Germany and others, are putting restrictions on their export of supplies like this. I don't know about oxygen, but it's interesting too, because so many countries were angry at the United States recently about, oh, look at, America, put America first. But in reality, here we go with all countries are putting themselves first. I've said this many times over the last several years. It's like all countries that I know of put themselves first, right? And then when you see a situation like this, it's not like Germany's going to send all their stuff to Italy. They're not going to. Now is when the EU gets tested and falls apart. And, will it fall apart? I don't know. But remember what I keep saying. There's the virus component, then there's the economic component, and then there's the finance component, and then there's the political and social components. This is like, infinite dimension chessboards here, right? And that all affect each other. I mean, this could be the final straw for the EU when, for instance, Italy's economy is tanked. You think Germany's going to run around bailing out everybody? You know what I mean? No, they're not going to, period. And also, I mean, this could be the end of the EU. I hope it is, actually. I don't hope it's the end of Europeans. I love Europeans. I lived in Europe 6 years. I lived in Poland for 2 years. I love Poland. Lived there for 2 years, and I lived in Germany for 4 years. And I've been all over there. Let's see. Oh, okay. Michael D. Tobin looked it up. Moroccan recognition of the United States. 1786. Morocco recognized the United States on June 23rd. I should remember that. June 23rd, 1786. So when I can meet Moroccans, I thought it was 1778. So 1786. 1786, when a treaty of peace and friendship was signed by U.S. Minister Thomas Barclay and Sidi Muhammad, Sultan of Morocco, at Marrakesh. Is that cool name, Marrakesh, with all that history. Morocco countries, Office of the History State Government Countries, Morocco. Yeah. Wait, but Hassan says 1777. But then Michael's saying 1786. And my memory was 1778. I don't know. All right. Who's right here? Maybe none of us are right. Maybe we're all wrong. Maybe we're all right. I don't know. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Missed the old 5-2 bunch. 5-2 was great, man. Actually, there was people in 5-2 that were in Deuce 4, too. And I'm looking at comments. That's why I'm not looking at the camera all the time. I'm looking at comments. Where in Poland? Mark Abel is saying, I lived near Warszawa in a small village called Popshin. It's on the east side. It's a small village, and yeah, I was there for a couple of years. I love Poland. Poland's great, man. I love Polish people. Polish people are tough, man. Let's see. And I know Poland's going to get hit with this too. They're not going to be able to guard against it, of course. Matthew said there wasn't a United States until after the Treaty of Paris. Let's see. Colin Smith, BiPAP was used for non-invasive ventilation, not CPAP. Yeah, the O2 concentrator. I was just checking out oxygen concentrators, as I said, and I found one for about $400 or $500. Yeah, John says, funny how coming from traumatic circumstances makes us powerful men so calm in really bad circumstances. Yeah, I think some of it, I think for me comes like I've been able to handle a lot of death and destruction around me so many times. And I'll continue to return to it. Like, it's not like I'm watching it on TV or it's just them getting hurt. I mean, it's happening like it could easily be me. It's happening literally right beside me. But I'm able to return to it for many reasons. I think part of it's cultural. Like if you're raised with the expectation that you are to be steady and you are to be a man, you're not to be some Waschlappen or Waschlappen as Germans would call it, wash rag. Man, that you are to be strong for your family and your community. You know what I mean? If you're raised like that, that's your cultural expectation. That's a start. And then we just had really great coaches and stuff at school, and And like my schools, they're actually, I didn't realize that I actually went to really good schools in Winter Haven, Florida until I left. And I realized that a lot of other kids my age, like 18 and 19 in the Army, a lot of them didn't seem actually to have as much education as I would have expected. And, and then, and then, going into the Army, going through infantry school, airborne, all that, going to special forces school and being on a couple A teams, by the time you go through all that stuff, you're like, okay, I can do some combat. On the polar bear liver, I don't remember. Hey, Larry. But you can look it up in the Army Survival Manual. Kirk says, why do we have such poor societal memory? 1918, too long ago. SARS not bad enough. In the West, Wuhan, huh? Italy, too soon to tell. Let's wait till thousands of millions of dead. This is probably going to kill millions of people. Chances of it not killing millions of people are starting to look pretty slim. We're going to see. Okay, Hassan and Michael D. Tobin, what year? Okay, Joe Seawright is saying Morocco recognized the United States in 1777. Why did I think it was 1778? Let's see. Kim is saying, I have a BiPAP. I hate wearing mine when I'm sick as well. Let's see. Colin Smith. But yeah, Poland, 3 separate sources. Kim Nance says, crap, you aren't old enough to have lived in all the places you've lived. I've had one busy life. Had a very busy life. I've lived coast to coast in the United States. I went to school twice in California. And then I worked for Michael Jackson in California. And then I did security for him at Neverland. And then I lived in Massachusetts a couple times. Had a business in Ohio and in North Carolina. And then I was stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, while I was in Special Forces. Of course, Georgia, South Carolina. Man, and then I've just been all over America. And then lived in Europe 6 years and spent maybe 5 years in the Middle East, depending on what you call the Middle East. Like Afghanistan, do you call that the Middle East? Some people call it Asia, some call it the Middle East. A couple of years in Iraq, and then a lot of the other time around other places like Kuwait, that sort of thing. UAE. I like UAE. That's pretty nice. Actually, if the war in Afghanistan was finished, I'd go there on vacation. I like Afghans. I like Afghans quite a lot, actually. Let's see. Oh, vitamin A is saying too much vitamin A in polar bear liver is toxic. So it's vitamin A. That's right. And it's fat soluble. Vitamin A is is one of the fat soluble vitamins. And so it doesn't leave you very quickly. Okay. Irene is saying, Michael Yon, if you could give the 4 most important things that every person should do considering the current environment, what would you suggest? Okay, first, make sure you've got water and food security, right? Number 1, water and food security, and then other supplies such as medical. And if you need pharmaceuticals that are vital to your survival, remembering that probably more than 80% of our pharmaceuticals come from China. Get those now. If you can get any extra, now's the time to get it. Plan as if this is going to be at least 6 months. I would plan as if this is going to be 6 months of hard times. That's how I would plan. It could be a lot longer, depending on, the viral issues could be maybe, abate, hit that peak and then go down and maybe go back up again. I don't know. But then again, we're going to have the economic issues because this is changing the economic framework of the United States. This is very fundamental things are happening. So be prepared for, cut your expenses, cut find a place right now that you want to stay for a long time. Like people keep asking me people are still asking me every day, should I go to so-and-so on vacation? They're actually still asking me. And I'm like, absolutely not. I've been saying no for like the last month. Get to where you're going to go. I mean, even if you're like in California, but you're from Florida and you would rather go through this in Florida or vice versa or whatever, get over there right now. Go there now. Like, don't wait. Don't wait another week, go to where you want to stay. Go to where your strong point is and stay in that strong point. And do it now and make sure everything's stocked up there. So get to your strong point now, because we don't know how this is going to play out. But it looks like we're all going to have to do some level of self-quarantine, even if we're not infectious or not showing any symptoms, and highly don't think that we have any disease. I mean, in a lot of parts of America, you're probably not going to want to leave the house anyway. So be prepared to, stay home. Be prepared for the electricity and the water to go out. It may go out. It may not go out all across America, but it may go out in some places, right? So be prepared for that. Be prepared. Again, food, water, medicine. So have the ability to purify water as well. I want to say this again, and I don't make any money off. That's why I don't even put the links up. This is the filter, literally the filter that I've used since about 2002 when I was started. I think I bought it I bought it right around the time I started chasing cannibals. And then I used it in the Iraq War. I used it in the Afghan War. I used it in all over the world. I used it in Malaysia, Indonesia, Myanmar, Burma. Used it, all over India, Nepal, Tibet, China. Don't need it in Japan. I still use it. I still use this thing. And it's just a pump, you put the surgical tubing here into the water that you're filtering, and then it comes out here. The pure water comes out here, right? And then there's another device that I use called a Steripin, and this one gives off UVC at 253 nanometers, if that makes any difference. And this UV light will deactivate viruses, and you just stir it in the water, and it will and it will kill bacteria. So depending on the level of purity of the water and different conditions, sometimes I'll just use this one and not the filter, and often I'll just use just the filter and not this one. Depends on the circumstances. And then sometimes I'll actually filter it and then use this one, because the filter won't actually take out viruses. But in the United States, viruses don't, to my knowledge, happen in wild water. Like if you're getting water in the Rocky Mountains or something, or some creek up in Appalachia, there shouldn't be any viruses in it unless something's changed. But if you have a hurricane and you're in Katrina and there's sewage everywhere, I don't know, the situation could change dramatically. You might not be in America. Like Hassan is over in hello, Hassan. Goodbye. I hope everything's good in Morocco. Maybe I'll see you over there sometime. But you need to make sure you have plenty of clean water. And the very last moment that you want to have a water problem is actually when you have a water problem, right? I mean, if you have a water problem because you're sitting on your roof after a hurricane and there's water all around you, and you're sitting on a roof for 2 days in the sun, hoping a boat from the Cajun Navy is going to come get you after Katrina or something, that's not the time you want to get sick from water. That's the time when that bag that you threw over your shoulder has this in it, and maybe this one too, but at least definitely this one. And if you have both, you're not going to have it. Actually, this is going to save you on 99.9% of the chance. This is more of a convenience often, the Steripin. I only have this one for viruses. That's the only reason I have it. And also, again, if the water is already bottled and clean, then often I won't filter it. But if it's in India and I get bottled water, I actually filter bottled water in India. So anyway, I could go into details on that. But I mean, the bottom line is I'm paranoid about water, because often if I'm out, in the depths of jungles in India, I don't want to get sick. If there's a tsunami and 100,000 people are dead, I don't want to get sick. I mean, I can't add to the problems. I don't want to add to the plus. Nobody's going to be able to help me. You know what I mean? And I don't want to be part of the burden to that keeps other people from getting helped. So Nikki's saying Canada can't use order antibiotic. Let's see. Kim says, if you are on county water system, do you need to worry? Well, there's probably thousands of county systems around the United States, so that just depends, on where you're at. You'll have to check into that yourself. Nikki's asking, can you buy from my site? No. I should. I mean, I really should. People keep telling me I should do the Amazon, whatever it's called, associates program or something. But I'm not making money off that. You'll take me seriously if you know I'm not making money off of it. You know what I mean? And this really, you can see how worn out it is. Catadine told me a couple of weeks ago or so that they haven't made the blue one since like 2004 or 2005. And the filter on this one, my serial number or the number stamped on it is 2301, which they told me means it was made in the 23rd week of 2001. You can't even read Catadine on it anymore. You can see it there. But now the ones that they sell like this now are black. They're like $300 or $400, man. They're expensive, but it's worth it because that time that you need it. I mean, it could be the time. Look, a lot of water selling out. You don't want to be sick at that time. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to purify water, or to, there's differences between. There's many different ways to do it. And look in the Army Survival Manual will give you a lot of great ideas, actually. Don is asking just to post links so we can get it faster. Just go to like Amazon or Catadine, and look up and you'll see it instantly. It'll take you like 30 seconds. There you go. There's Catadine. Can you read it? There you go. Catadine. K-A-T. It's not focusing on it. It's focusing on my face. It's because it's got facial focusing. Anyway, Catadine. K-A-T-A-D-Y-N. Absolutely worth it. And not only that, this is probably going to last me all my life. That's why people, they'll see all the stuff you have is like top grade stuff. Like my water filter is the best you can get. You know what I mean? Like, my recorder is the best you can get for the small ones. You know what I mean? It's the, my flashlights, like that's the best flashlight you can get. And it's because I don't want it to break when I need it. You know what I mean? I got these cheap can openers here. I went through 8 or 10 of them until I finally got a KitchenAid one. And the KitchenAid ones, man, once you've been through a bunch of really terrible can openers and you get a good one, you're like, a nice can opener. I can appreciate that. You know what I mean? And once you get it gives you a sense of calm. If I'm filtering out this water, like I was filtering it out for my nieces when they were really young, and we were camping, and I was like, I feel confident that I can give my young nieces water from this thing and they're not going to get sick. I mean, do you want to give water to kids that you're not sure if your water filter's good? Oh, no. You know what I mean? They're like, 6-year-old kid. Do you want to give them water from something you're not sure about? I know the answer is obviously no. So I shouldn't ask a facetious question like that. That's kind of low class. But the bottom line is, even if it's expensive, just get the right thing one time, and then it'll last you for the rest of your life. And then it does have a ceramic filter that you can change, but I haven't had to change it, and I've used this thing so much. You can buy one if you want. It's a ceramic filter, and it comes with a little gauge, so you can see it starts to have a kind of an hourglass shape because I've used it so much. And it's a very slight, and it comes with this gauge where you can measure. If it's getting too thin, then you have to change it. And I don't need to. I actually somehow either I didn't have one of those to start with, or maybe I lost it. But so I figured out how big the filter is somehow, and then I measured it and did the pi formula and realized that this filter is very good to go. I don't need to change it. You need to oil this sometimes, the plunger, but it'll actually come with stuff that you can do that with, or you can just get your own. So, it'll give you a good workout. But make sure to lubricate that. That's it. I mean, that's your maintenance. Your maintenance is that, and occasionally you clean the filter. If you're gunking up your filter, you just take it and with like one of those little Brillo pads, and don't scrub it hard. Just kind of wipe it off. Just easy wipe it off. You can hear it, and then you're good to go. Great, man. And it's really sturdy, man. You can use this to fight with. Let's see. Okay, what is John Phillips saying about this? Hello in Northern Michigan. Put on your YouTube channel so we can donate that way. Oh, wow. Sort of saying instead of Amazon affiliate, get the join button on your YouTube so we can donate that way. Whew, I need to, man. I need money. Not many people are donating. And I don't expect it because a lot of people, like I come right on my own channel and say, cut your expenses. You need to cut your expenses. And they're going to be like, okay, Mike, bye. It's like, but the reality is you need to cut your expenses, and I need money as well, but that's the way it goes. But I'm going to take a note on what you're telling me there. Put the join button on the YouTube. I'll look into that today. I need to do that, man. I was hoping to get the Patreon donations high enough that, for instance, I could just fly back to the United States and go all over the place, but it's not going to happen, or it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Maybe it will, but I haven't actually done a call out for that either. John Phillips is saying effective at 7:00 tomorrow. Okay, effective at 7:00. Okay, John Phillips is saying effective at 7:00 a.m. tomorrow, March 15th, 2020. Checkpoints will be set up in all entry and exit points, 3 main highways, and 3 bypass roads in Bugao City. What are you talking about? Philippines? Are you in Philippines? That's Philippines, right? All travelers in private or public vehicles will be required to submit pre-filled out forms indicating their names, addresses, contact numbers, date of time of travel, seat number, bus number to facilitate easy contacting tracing for COVID-19. I'll just call that China plague. Passengers will also be subjected to thermal scans, and those who will be found to have high temperatures will be advised to proceed to and arrested in going to and assisted, in going to the hospital. This scheme is part of the heightened prevention and response measured against the, I'll call it China plague menace. Please be guided accordingly. Mayor Benjay B. Magalong. That sounds very Filipino. So that's in Philippines, I think, right? Based on the name of that town, and his name sounds highly Filipino. I hope everybody's doing well in Philippines. You know how much I love Philippines and Filipinos and Filipinas. I hope y'all are great. You're very resilient people too, like Thais. I mean, Filipinos are really resilient. Great information. Thank you, Softail12. You're welcome, Don. Let's see. Amazon. Oh, Colin put a link up to that filter. Need to show your ID to get into town. Oh, you're talking about Philippines. John, need your ID. I'm almost certain that's Philippines. I think put to gem you're saying you can't see the name Catadine. Let me put it up one more time. I think that's what you're talking about. But I'll just spell it too. I touched my face there. Catadine. K-A. It's trying to focus on. Oh, now it's trying to focus on the guy's face behind me too. This thing's got autofocus on. So I have to cover up his face. And I have to cover up mine because it's trying to autofocus on his face and mine. And then it should focus on this thing. There we go. Can you see that? No. There it is. Catadine. Finally, I had to cover his face and mine. Catadine. Get it. Great filter. And I do a lot of research before. It's only several $100, but I'll put more research into that than some people put into a car because that's my water, man. You know what I mean? I'm not messing around with water. I'm going to be straight up, get the best of the best that I can carry on my back. All right. Wayshawn saying, update, Aussie Prime Minister declares all international arrivals to self-quarantine for 14 days, starting at midnight. Lovely. And this, again, is why I keep telling people to go to your hard point now. If you're not there yet, it may already be too late. But get to your hard point. Someone in London recently asked me if she and her husband should go back to Australia or possibly to Norway. And I told her, I said, the fact that you're even asking that question tells me you need to leave London, right? And only you know the answer to that because only you know your situation. But certainly wherever you're going to go, do it now. Do it right now. Do not waste time. Let's see. Catadine is the company. You're right. The blue filter is Catadine, Irene. I don't know what article you're talking about. Berkey, Christine is saying, Berkey water filter was my purchase food after food. Actually, I wish I had a Berkey water filter. I haven't found any that I'm going to buy in Thailand, but I wish I had one, actually. Berkey is quite good. And, yeah, I don't have one. I need to get one of those. You said, Larry saying, you've been sending news articles. Are they coming too frequent? Nope. I hope I'm getting them all. I don't always respond because you can imagine I'm getting like a kilometer of messages every day. So please forgive me if I don't respond at all sometimes, but it's just a lot. But it can be extremely useful. Sometimes you'll get like 5 links and none of them are actually useful to me. Sometimes because I've already read them or whatever. But then, but then the 6th one is like, oh wow, that's key stuff. And I might not even say thank you because I'll be off reading that and then phone rings and you know how it goes. And I'll be who gave me that article? Let's see. Jay Mitchell is saying, I saw New York Times reporting CDC worst case scenario estimate 200,000 to 1.2 million Americans dead. Not sure what kind of math they're using, but according to the data in my calculator, that's best case scenario. Oh yeah, it could be a lot more than that. That's why I've been ringing the bell here a lot. This is no joke. This is as live fire as it gets. This is you are now in combat. You are now at war. If you're watching this and it's not 30 years in the future, if you're watching this live, you are at war. And so wartime rules are in effect. So mistakes can be costly. Think everything through. And the more you think things through, the more prepared you'll be and the more calm you'll be. And the more calm you are, the stronger your immunity will be. Get good sleep. If you can sleep well, like I don't have to worry about it. Do I have enough food? Yeah, I got enough food. Do I have enough water? Absolutely. Do I have all the pharmaceuticals I need? I don't really take any. Nobody really I know does. Here, I got some extra aspirin. I only did that to make me feel good. Or let me get some of this aspirin. I don't really need it. But I got some extra betadine. I got some extra hydrogen peroxide. I got some extra saline solution. I got some extra bandages just in case, the hospitals are, well, not just in case, the hospitals almost certainly are going to be jam packed. And so you don't want to have to go for anything minor. You don't want to have to go to the hospital for anything minor. I want to say again, make sure you got thermometers. They're cheap. A lot of people don't have thermometers at home. Make sure you've got. I like the mercury ones, but I've also got the electronic one. And the brand doesn't really matter. Just get one that's got good reviews, and then get your baseline and write it down, like when you don't have a fever. And then if you start to think you have a fever, then start writing it down about once an hour. And if you think, because remember, the 2 big symptoms right up front will be dry cough, not wet cough, but dry cough and fever within 24 hours of each other. Those 2 things, like in the same 24 hours, then you might have of the China plague. And so remember, most people are going to survive, and at least 80% of the people, it looks like, won't have any serious symptoms, and then a considerable amount actually will, and those are the ones that are going to fill up the hospitals. In Italy, they were doing triage already, and apparently, like, saying this patient gets treatment and this patient does not, and a lot of that's based on age, apparently. Kimberly West says, my expat home is in Al Ain, Abu Dhabi. I've been to Al Ain. That's way out there in the desert. It was nice. Thank you. Let's see. Do you equate this virus to the Black Plagues? Those were very serious and did massive social rearranging, I guess is the way to put it. Even something like this could, imagine this kills 2 million Americans. That's just Americans. And now, expand that across the globe. That's going to change a lot of stuff. That's going to change because it will have happened so quickly and change the economies. And suddenly there's going to be a lot of empty homes and that sort of thing. There's all kinds of things that'll be just different, change different markets for different reasons. So in addition to having to face this virus right now, and not all of us are going to make it through, most of us will, if it continues the way it is now. And then we're going to have to face and get through the economic side, which most of us either have been through bad economic times or our parents or grandparents have. Not all of us. There might be some Rockefellers on here. But we can get through that too, and we will. Okay, let's see other questions here. Let's see. Hard times make hard men. They do. Too many soy boys in the U.S. lately, Don is saying. Well, they're going to have to do some toughening up. If they start whining, tell them, shut up. I want to hear your whining. Be a man. And, good. Barbara says, I just bought a lot of candles and a lantern for them. I've got so many candles that I'm not worried about burning that one to remind people to get candles. That's why I'm burning that. To remind people to have enough candles. Something about candles are nice too. Matthew Dill said he just finished reading A Covert Action. That was a great book, actually. I think you may have gotten it based on my recommendation. That was about the CIA operation to overthrow, to support solidarity in Poland. And it was the CIA operation was called QR Helpful. It was very successful. I was in Green Berets at that time, and our mission was to parachute into Poland and do missions. We never did that, obviously, or you would know all about it because it would have been World War III. Okay. Let's see. Colin says, someone needs to put on interactive live streams for my dang kids that are now home so they don't drive us crazy. Let's see here. There were some other questions up here I saw, but I can't find them now. All right. If you have anything that you really wanted me to ask and I did not even touch it, it's probably because it shot right past and I might not have seen it. Just put it right back down on the bottom again, and I'll answer a few more, and then I'm going to study more today. And then I'll knock off. I may come on later tonight. I don't know. The reason I didn't come on late last night was because I did a 2-hour and 20-minute interview with Random Yoko in Japan. Okay. It looks like not many questions coming in, so I'll go ahead and call it a day. Thank you, everybody who supported me on Patreon and PayPal and Venmo and Bank of America and Mitsubishi Bank. Very important. And Thai bank accounts. Those are all at the top of my Facebook. And I'm going to go ahead and shut off. It's been great talking. Make sure you make sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell on my YouTube. That way you'll definitely get alerts. Sometimes Facebook doesn't send the alerts out. And come on back to my Michael Yon's Quarantine Coffee and Book Club. We'll talk about books sometime. Any more questions? And I don't see any more. So we'll go ahead and shut off. Mike out. End broadcast.